Hi, I'm Tom McGrath, and welcome to the Satell Institute's Executive Session podcast. This is the podcast where we talk to CEOs and business leaders about corporate social responsibility, about corporations partnering with nonprofits, giving back to their communities. Today, we're going to talk about CSR in the context of something so many of us really love, which is professional sports, and specifically the NBA. With us today is Leslie Walker. Leslie is the executive director of the Sixers Youth Foundation, which is, of course, part of the Philadelphia 76ers organization. Leslie, welcome. Great to see you.
Thank you for having me, Tom. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, thrilled to have you here. So I should say that as we're recording this, the Sixers are still alive in the playoffs. So fingers crossed that they can keep moving forward. I assume playoff
Yes.
time is a lot of fun when you're at a sports when you work for a sports organization.
It's exciting right now. We have such a great team, with these younger players too coming in and just showing us all different things. And I think it's pretty electrifying, and they're lighting up the city, and it's fun.
Yeah, it's great. It's great. I know it's been kind of an up and down season for the Sixers, but still alive, still fighting. So that's all good news. So there are so many things that I want to talk to you about, but let's start with you. I'm curious just a little bit about sort of your journey into the position that you have, and maybe tell us also just a little bit about what's involved in the position.
So I've been in this position for about 4.5 years. This is my fifth season. I've always been on the other side, though, working for nonprofits. So I was, the one looking for those foundations to be able to support the nonprofits that I, worked for. And being on this side now is really great. My first time being in philanthropy, working for a foundation, and knowing the different things that I went through, I'm able to use that to be able to bring to the organization. And I think there's been a lot of positives from that. And just looking at being in this region for my whole career, the majority of my work was in Philadelphia, but now, it's spread out to the region. The work that we do is around working with middle school age children. So our board early on decided that that was the area that they wanted to focus on. So the youth between 11 to 14. And we have three pillars that we concentrate in. One is academic enrichment. So think about, your after school programs and all the different various things that happen in the after school programs, from anti-bullying to homework help to coaching, mentoring, all different, types of activity in that area. And then sports and recreation. So always looking for, those sports that, kids can get involved in, but also a lot of those organizations that we fund also have the other part that they do too. So they, some of them do mentoring as well. And then quality, safe play spaces. So that's the area where we're refurbishing basketball courts and schoolyards. And so that's really exciting to be able to see that happen around the region.
Fantastic. And that's all such important work. Give us an example or two, if you can think of one, of just of a specific project that you guys have worked on lately or continuing to work on as you move forward here.
So we have a couple basketball courts that are going to open soon. One should be this summer and hopefully one in the fall. Delaware in northern Wilmington. So really happy about that one. That's actually our first court that we're doing in that area. And then we have a schoolyard at Hackett Elementary School in Philadelphia. So really excited about those, because when we get to see everyone who goes out and uses the courts, and I could be riding by going home from work, and I pass so many basketball courts, which is really great. So I get a chance to see not just the youth that we support playing on it, but like people from the neighborhood playing on it, and whether it's out adults out there with their children, or older youth, teens. It's exciting to really see them out there on the court. So particularly excited about that right now.
Fantastic. Give us a little bit of a sense of, I mean, I'm sure you have a ton of requests for funding or people looking to partner with you. What are some of the things that you're looking for when you're, when you're trying to sort of finalize the deal with somebody? What makes a good partner for
Yeah,
you?
it's really interesting the whole process, because we're looking at it from the board perspective too. So we have a board, and the board, makes the final decision with their voting on where we're gonna fund in those particular areas. So I have to present to them, and so right now, looking at more in the region. Because the Sixers are a regional sports team, which is, exciting for Philadelphia, surrounding counties. We got Northern Delaware, and then we have South Jersey. So it's exciting to be able to see that footprint grow year over year. And this year I'm particularly excited, like I said, about Delaware, being able to do some more in Delaware. And so when we look at partnering and looking, for that potential grantee partner, we're trying to look at areas too that we haven't funded in. We're looking at programs that we are funding that could do expansion work. We've had some great expansion with one of our grantee partners, Learn Fresh. They do a program called MBA Math Hoops. It's a board game. And they actually get to draft a team and
Oh, wow.
play against each other. Yeah, it's really, I mean, it's an exciting game. And so being able to see them grow in Philadelphia with the Department of Parks and Recreation has been great. Seeing their growth in Delaware, and so we're always looking too about our current grantee partners and the work that they're doing, and if they can help us in that expansion in that growth area.
Fantastic. One of the reasons I wanted to have you on as a guest on the podcast is that I think sports franchises in general, and I think the Sixers in particular, are such great practitioners of
Hmm,
corporate social responsibility, and I think
agree.
in a lot of ways it makes so much sense, right? There's such a strong tie to the community. It's the community that comes out and supports you at games. We all tune in on TV and watch, and obviously that relationship goes both ways. But just talk to me a little bit about the way the Sixers as an organization sort of think about that connection with the community and really why it's so important to you as an organization.
So I look at it as first that the Sixers are ambassadors. And, when you're talking about, sports, they're more than just sports. And I think that that's what people are starting to see and understand just with the work that we do. And being able to have an organization that does work in the community, to me, says a whole lot. So if we're looking at like the 76ers specifically, there's a whole department, community relations and social responsibility, where they're doing work out in the community on a daily basis, whether they're doing free basketball clinics. Today, actually, they're out doing some work around Earth Day. And so my team is out there. I'll meet up with them a little bit later. And then we do like cleanups, park cleanups. We have one that we've done in Camden every year at a court that we refurbished, and we have players that come out, to those kinds of things. And I think that's the part that's really exciting. And we're having like our board come out, our leadership come out, and doing that together. And for the region to be able to see that the Sixers are out there and they're involved in the community, I think that that's really important. I think that sports is a connector, a unifier, and I think that when you see that and you see this organization, you do look and you're like, there's so much more to them. There's so much more that goes on. Our players also have, a lot of them have their own foundations. And so they're doing a lot of work also here, in the region. And this season has been particularly great where all of our players have been involved. It's probably our biggest year where all the players have been involved in some type of activity out in the community, whether it is around literacy, reading, giving away books, taking you shopping, back to school, around the holidays, giving out food. There's been a huge involvement with our players. And I think it just goes a long way with the coach and the coaches and the Sixers leadership that has really got them involved and really helping them to see that, they make a difference. We make a difference. And that was a pretty, I guess let me put it this way. That was one of the things that excited me when I came to work here. You look at the job and you look at the job description and great, being able to do this work and being able to, make an impact. But it was also that volunteer arm. I'm a big proponent of volunteering with every organization I've ever worked for. Getting my kids also now, well, my grown adult kids involved in
Still your kids.
volunteering. Yeah, right. They're still my kids. My daughter did a volunteer opportunity with me in November for Tyrese Maxey's foundation, where we were giving out food for Thanksgiving, and so she got to see firsthand, what the Sixers do and players do, and for me, that was really rewarding.
That's fantastic. I just wanted to read something. I found something on your website that I thought was great, and I just want to share it with the audience here. And this is, you guys are talking about your mission, and you said to use the power of basketball and the influence of the Philadelphia 76ers brand to inspire future generations in the communities where our fans live, work, and play. And I really love that because it's you talk about the influence of the Philadelphia 76ers brand. And I think that's so important because as you're just talking about, that brand is so powerful. And even when you're talking about the participation of various players on things, I mean, I go back to when I was a kid and just the chance to see a professional athlete. Honestly, it's not even just when I was a kid. Even now, if I see, if I walk in somewhere and there's Tyrese Maxey, I'm like, oh, look, there's Tyrese Maxey. And athletes have such a status in our culture. And when they use that power in a positive way, it really can be a transformative thing. So just kudos to you guys on sort of not only understanding that, but really activating that in really such a powerful way. I think it's fantastic.
Thank you. Yeah, when you're talking about, when you were, younger and seeing players, but even seeing them now, listen, I still have that like moment, when I see them walk into the room, that like wow, factor, like and just what they do. And it's amazing to be able to, sometimes be right next to them. And then also to understand that they're regular people just like us, and do things just like we do. That's really interesting to be able to see that.
Speaking of the power of your brand, I think you guys have also been successful at getting some corporate partners involved in some of the work that you do. I know you guys throw a big gala every year. Just talk a
Mhm.
little bit about sort of those relationships and how everybody kind of comes together to try and give back to the community in that respect.
Yeah, the gala, that's our anchor fundraiser for the year. Always exciting. Being able to have corporate sponsors is really huge for us. And the work that they do, because many of the corporate sponsors that we have, or I should say, really all of them, are doing work in the community as well. And so with them, donating to the foundation and us being able to do that work, we wouldn't be able to do it without them. And so when you look at the different sponsors that we have, there are opportunities too that our grantee partners have, the youth in the programs have with some of those corporate sponsors. And so there are sponsors that may, when I was talking about sponsoring, giving away stuff around the holidays. There are many of them that sponsor those activities as well. And so they're all really, play a huge role in the work that we do. And when I was talking about basketball courts, those dollars that they're supporting us with go towards those basketball courts. Or if we're funding a particular grantee partner, that's doing like one we have, they give away new and gently used sports equipment. Those dollars from the corporate organizations that sponsor us are going towards that. And so that's the part that you really get to see how those dollars go into play and how they impact the community. And then when they get an opportunity to see that work through looking at our social media, like our LinkedIn or Instagram, page, or looking at our impact report that just came out not too long ago. That those, corporate funders get to see that. And, being able to see where your dollars go and the impact, for us that they have on the youth, I think is extremely important. And I feel like that's why they want to support us year over year.
I know you're a longtime participant in the Satell Institute, and you sort of understand what the organization about. And obviously, there's a big focus when I do these conversations with people in your position and talk about sort of the why behind corporate social responsibility. The first thing that people talk about is wanting to have that impact on the community. But ultimately,
Mhm.
we also end up talking about the way this benefits the organization itself, the company or the corporation, or in your case, the sports franchise. I just wonder if you could just talk about that for a little bit in terms of, the sort of payback that the 76ers are getting from this, whether it's internally in terms of sort of morale, or whether it's externally in terms of your brand, just some of the ways that you think this is good, not just for the community that you're serving, but also for the 76ers, as an organization.
So I think so we'll look at it both ways, right? So we'll look at it the 76ers organization and then look at the Sixers Youth Foundation. I mean, we are we're the philanthropic arm, but we're out there, doing, the grant making. 76ers are there doing a lot of work in the community, and the work that they do. I think that looking at just what the region means to us, um, is really, I think it's important because that when they see us out there, they want to support us, right? They support the work that we do. Our fans support the work that we do. And I think that being in the room, like if we're talking about Satell, yeah, I think I've been involved with Satell for probably about like 4 years now, maybe yeah, 4 years, going on 5 years. But I knew about Satell before I start working with the 76ers. I knew about it when I worked at the Free Library of Philadelphia, because my boss, my director at that time, is one of the founding members. So I knew about Satell then, and when I got in this position, I was like, oh, this would be really great for me to be able to enjoy, to join. The Satell has opened up a lot of doors for me. I've met a lot of really great people, where you get to talk at different meetings, or you know being able to hear other CEOs and executive directors and the work that they do helped to influence some of the work that I do. You have different thought partners. You get to hear and see different ways they're running their organization, and I believe that when you're in those rooms and you walk away with these great nuggets, that you have to bring them back and see how or if there are things that can work for you in the organization. I think that just being able to speak in front of all those CEOs and executive directors, which I've done many times, has really, I think, let them see more into the Philadelphia 76ers and the Sixers Youth Foundation, and what we do. And I I think that has been really beneficial for the organization. And it's also, looking at just working with other partners in the region, and and them really seeing that, it is a sports organization, but we all do so much more.
Yeah. Yeah. It's there's so much more behind that people don't actually see. Well, it's a good segue to my next question, which is, I mean, I know you've been on various sides of this. You mentioned that you were in the nonprofit world. Now you're, with the 76ers, with the Sixers Youth Foundation. I'm curious if there are any things that you think other corporations can learn from the work that you're doing. And maybe I'm thinking specifically about what you guys reference in terms of like the power of your brand. Because yes,
Hmm.
obviously the 76ers and a sports team is a powerful brand, but there are a lot of powerful brands out there that I'm not sure if they always recognize the power of their brand as the
Hmm.
ability to make an impact on the community. So, I like, if suddenly you were in charge of some other corporation's foundation, are the things that you would take from your current job and bring them into another job?
Yeah. Um, or starters, I think it's really important, if you're moving to a new job, to always look at those things that worked for you in the job, that you have to be able to move on to the next one. Because there's so many I think so many things that happen. There's so many good things that happen in an organization, and there's things that aren't that great that you're like, maybe I wouldn't do that. Oh,
Yeah.
I like this way. So going into another organization, I would really want that organization to understand the collaborative parts that I could bring, and understanding that from the work that happens with the Sixers. So being the Sixers Youth Foundation, and as I said, that philanthropic arm, the whole organization supports the Sixers Youth Foundation. And so, when I talk, during talks at different places, and you're like, and we operate like a business, we have different departments, like the creative teams, marketing, we have legal and, finance and operations, and so on. So we have all those, just like another organization would. But being able to work collectively, I think is really important. And I think that's something that I would be like, I'd have to bring that along with me. And we really rally around the gala that we have every year. Every department helps out. It's a big effort. For me, I have a team of two, so there's three of us. And so the organization helps from every part of putting the pieces together, our creative team coming, and when you walk in and you see, all the different banners and activations that are happening, and the production that's happening with talent that, performers that we have, and looking at that, and looking at being able to, we talked about working with our corporate sponsors, and the groups that are helping to bring those corporate sponsors in. So it's a huge effort. And so I think if I were to ever move to another place, I'd want to really bring that with me, and for them to understand that it takes a lot for an organization to run, and because of that, seeing that, the collaborative parts of that, I think, are huge. And I know here things just couldn't run any other way. And I've really been able to work very closely, establish really good relationships. And I think also, you know, looking at my external work too, being able to establish relationships, being able to really get connected. And, when we talk about Satell, like, working, with Satell, with, Regina in particular, and her team, has been great. And I've learned a lot from working with them that has helped me in my current role. So I know that, it's important that you look at, the work that you're doing, and always how it can help you in other areas.
I think what you're talking about collaboration is really powerful, and obviously it brings up this great metaphor around sports, which is sports is all about teamwork, right? I mean, you can put
That's it.
five great
That's what it
players
is.
on a court, but unless they're working together, what's the cliche? There's no I in team, Leslie.
That's right. There is no I in team. I like that. There definitely isn't. Yeah. I mean, the teamwork, it's great. And to be able, like I talked about before, like, just seeing the players out there, and seeing the coaches, and our board, and our ownership group, and then the staff at the 76ers, and, just what everyone does, and then you look out in the region, and you're like, hey, we're really making an impact. We're really doing a lot of great work, and we're happy to be out there, and for people to see the work that we're doing, and wanting to talk with them, wanting to always think about ways of bringing in new partners, and what other new ideas are out there, and I think if you're always thinking, year over year, what are those different, growth areas?
Well, great segue to my final question here, which is, yeah, give us a glimpse of what you think you might be focused on over the next couple of years as you guys look to the future. Are there things that you're particularly excited about?
Um, so more basketball courts is always a great thing. It's when you think about basketball too, and you get some kids out on the basketball court, it's like one of the lowest entry points for sports. You need a hoop and some sneakers, right? And you can get out there and play. But to be able to look at those courts that need a little bit of love, I think is really important. So definitely thinking about more courts where we can look in that area as we continue to fundraise around you know um, um, and those dollars and where they can really go to, and then, and I think I said this before, looking at other areas in the region, how, and talking to other, peers too. What areas are they in, and what are they looking at? That's always been really important to me too, to talk to my peers in philanthropy, and what other ways can we look to make an impact? How many more youth? I always want to, be able to serve everyone, right? Because there's so many areas that could use the resources that the Sixers Youth Foundation and the 76ers have. And so we're always going to continue to look at those ways, that we're able to bring, those clinics or fund those programs. And we're always going to continue to look and see how much more we can do. And I think that's the fun part too about being able to plan and being able to get out there and really look at that community and be like, we can do work here. This is great, and have a new partner. That's really exciting.
It's funny, Mike. The sports metaphors just keep coming to me. You got to have a good game plan in order to really attack all these challenges. So,
I like how you're
Leslie,
bringing all that together.
I think maybe I'm trying out for the 76ers on this podcast.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I think you made the first cut.
Leslie, thanks so much for this conversation. This was really great, and congratulations on all the great work that you've done and are doing and are going to continue to do. So best of luck on that. And thanks to all of you for listening and watching this conversation. If you want some more information about the Satell Institute, check out our website at satellinstitute.org, and we will see you in our next episode. Thanks very much.